If you want to cook healthier meals for your family while also saving yourself time, money, and stress, meal planning is key. Join me as I walk you through my weekly meal planning process that will set you up for success, plus get all of my tips for efficiency and ease. I am super excited to share with you guys my meal planning process as a busy mom and a dietitian. And I also wanted to share with you something that you may not have thought about when it comes to cooking healthy meals for your family. If you're gonna be spending time and energy and effort on making healthy food, you wanna be sure that the cookware that you're using is not hindering your efforts to be healthier. If you didn't know, over 70% of frying pans sold in the US still contain Teflon, which have harmful chemicals like PFAs and also PTFE. And these chemicals, which are directly interacting with the food that you eat, can have really harmful effects on your health. So if you are still using Teflon cookware, you're definitely going to want to check out today's video sponsor, Caraway. Caraway is a non-toxic kitchenware brand that has high quality kitchen essentials. Their pans have a ceramic coating on them, which is 100% non-toxic, but also very slick. So it makes both cooking on them and cleanup easier. It really is crazy when you think about it that cookware could have harmful chemicals in it. And when heated to 500 degrees Fahrenheit, which only takes about 2.5 minutes, if you're using high heat, it will start to emit toxic fumes, and you can't see them and you can't smell them. So you have no idea that they're there, but they are emitted into your environment and you are exposed to them. I would recommend getting the cookware set that I got. It comes with a saute pan, a fry pan, a saucepan, and also a Dutch oven. It also comes with the lids for all of them, a lid holder, and a pan rack for storage. And this is gonna save you 20% versus if you were just to buy them all individually. So if you are looking to swap out your pans for a non-toxic alternative, I would definitely check out Caraway. If you're grabbing the cookware set, you'll save 20% by bundling, plus you can stack my discount code Bristow10 on top of it to get an additional 10% off. And you can also use that code to save on any of the products they have on their website. I mention meal planning in a lot of my videos because for me, it is truly vital for me to actually be able to cook healthy meals and just, healthy food in general, week in and week out. It is the only way that I am able to pull it off, being busy and having a lot on my plate, so to speak. Meal planning saves time, it saves money on healthy food, but most importantly, and this is a big one for me, it saves brain space and I'm able to stress less. And here's why. When you meal plan and basically make all of your decisions at one time for a certain period of time, maybe it's a week, maybe it's an entire month, you are going to be decreasing your decision fatigue over that period of time. So for example, I can sit down on a Sunday or maybe a Monday morning and I can make all of the decisions at one time when I'm focused, when I'm thinking about it, when I have that concentration, versus every single day if I'm like, what am I going to make for dinner today? And I have to start from scratch and I have to think that whole process through 7 days or 6 days or 5 days or however many days a week. That's a lot of decision making spread out over a long period of time. I would much rather bang it out in one shot, kind of batch those decisions and be able to move on and not have to think about it throughout the rest of the week. It also allows me to just grocery shop once a week and get everything I need in one foul swoop instead of running back and forth to the store throughout the week because I need to pick up ingredients that I need for the meal I just decided I was gonna make an hour ago. Which obviously saves a lot of time, but it can also save money too, because as we know, every time we go to the grocery store, we are likely to make impulse purchases. So if we're just going that one time, we're cutting most of that out. We're making all the decisions at one time, we're doing all the shopping at one time, and it really just sets us up for a week of ease when it comes to making healthy food. I will say though, there are some moms that I've seen on YouTube or I know in my real life that actually get really stressed out by meal planning and they don't like to be tied down to a meal plan. If you are someone who feels way more in the flow and less stress when you just kind of cook on the fly, then by all means do that. You do not need to put yourself in some kind of structure that doesn't actually work for you. But if you're anything like me, this makes healthy eating and cooking healthy meals consistently so much easier and also so much less stressful. Next, I want to talk about where I actually get inspiration, because I know that it's so easy to get stuck in the rut and you kind of eat the same things over and over, and it just becomes something that becomes more of a chore, and you don't really look forward to cooking, you don't really look forward to the meal, and we want to avoid that. We want eating to be something that is, you know, a source of joy and just really robust satisfaction in our life. Food can absolutely provide that. It also provides community and camaraderie, a reason to come around the table, and we want food to be that. So if you're feeling stuck in a rut, I'm going to share with you some of my personal favorite cookbooks. I always get asked what my favorites are, and I have a decent collection. It's not crazy because I'm very picky about, you know, having clutter and things in my house that I don't actually use, but I do have a small collection. However, I chose 4 of the books that I reach for over and over and over again, and you guys have seen these books throughout my videos, but I want to walk you through them real quick and share with you why I love them. I will also link them down below for you. So the first book is called Handmade. It's by Melissa K. Norris. She's an incredible blogger. She's here on YouTube, homesteader, and I reference this book so much. It is one of my most used books. You've seen it in my videos time and time again. It is an excellent guide, and it's not actually just food. She has like home products, like making your own home products in here as well. But everything from, there's lots of meals in here. There are lots of ferments in here. This is the book that taught me how to make my own sourdough starter and make sourdough, you know, years ago now. There's also lots of desserts, and she has a lot of tips for basically eating real food in a way that's frugal. She has a lot of Great Depression era tips from her, you know, grandparents or ancestors, and this is just a book I go back to over and over and over and over again. So highly recommend it for its recipes, for its instruction on how to cook with real food, transition to real food. It's just chock full of knowledge, and it's one of my top favorites. The next book that I absolutely love, and I have definitely shown here a time or two on my channel, is the Hungry for Home book by Ruth McKinney. She's also here on YouTube. I have had the delight of meeting her in person and going to Hillside Farm. She is truly a gem of a person. I love her just as a person, but I also love this book. So it has a lot of different recipes in it, and most of them I feel like I do tweak a little bit to be maybe a little bit more like just all real food ingredients, but there are so many excellent recipes in here for gathering around the table, sharing a meal, sharing a dessert. But there's also like kind of like this book, it's not simply just a cookbook. There's also a lot of information on creating traditions for your family, creating a family culture, gardening, home decorating. It kind of has it all, and that's one of the reasons why I love this. I wouldn't consider it a cookbook. It is just truly a book, but it is chock full of recipes that I reach for all the time, and I also love it for all the other home content as well. Okay, another book I reach for all the time, and you can see there's a bunch of tabs in here. I've got a lot of dog-eared pages because I just go back to it all the time and I pull a lot of inspiration from it, and that is the Half-Baked Harvest Every Day. If you've never heard of Tegan, she's got an incredible blog, Half-Baked Harvest, and this is one of her, I think maybe like her 3rd cookbook. She has several, and they're all great. So it's all about like everyday meals. I would say a lot of them might be a little bit more elevated, slightly more complicated than I would cook on like a weeknight, but there are so many good recipes in here, and she tries to create balance within her meals. She really thinks about, you know, adding in veggies and fiber and, you know, just trying to get in more vitamins and minerals with the food that she's cooking, which I obviously really appreciate. So I've made a lot of recipes from this straight up. I've also just, you know, taken a lot of inspiration from it and made, you know, some spins on her meals from this, but I go back to it all the time. It's one that I pull out probably almost every week when I'm meal planning, just to get some new ideas. Okay, and then the 4th like must-have book that I basically pull down the ones that I reach for almost on a weekly basis. I have others that I love, but these are like the top. So this one is called The Family Table. It's by Shay Elliott. She's also here on YouTube. She is also a homesteader. She raises almost all of her food, and she is an excellent home cook. So this is chock full of, this is just recipes, a little bit on the homesteading lifestyle as well, but it's mostly just a cookbook full of recipes, breakfasts, sides, dinners, desserts, and again, really from a real food, like using whole fresh ingredients, which is what I try and do in my kitchen. So I love this book for that. And I will link all of these books down below. Again, these are my most reached for cookbooks on my shelf that I use time and time again. I do also want to mention blogs because I do definitely pull recipes online as well. If I use a recipe online and I share it in my video, I always link it in the description box. But I wouldn't say I pull more inspiration from cookbooks, mainly because I just prefer looking through a book to find inspiration. I find it very enjoyable versus scrolling online can be a little bit overwhelming, and there just seems to be like a million and one recipes out there. So I kind of just go to the people that I trust and I know how they like to prepare food instead of wading through the millions of blog articles online. However, that being said, there are a few blogs that I feel like I go to over and over and over again, or I'll even go to that certain blog looking for, you know, a recipe. If I'm looking for a specific recipe, I'm gonna go to that blog and search it because I know that she probably has a good one. So I will link the few down below that I feel like I go for over and over again. Pinterest is obviously an excellent way to find blog recipes online, and I do use it. But again, I find that's a little bit more overwhelming, and it's just not as enjoyable as like paging through a cookbook. Like this is like a stack of dopamine right here. Like I really truly enjoy it. So that's why I use those more, but I will link a few blogs I visit all the time down below. Okay, next I wanted to share with you guys something that I'm really excited about that I have been wanting to make for years for myself, and I finally did, and I'm gonna share it with you guys because there might be some of you out there that find this really helpful too. I'm a visual person, and two, my least favorite part of meal planning is the drumming up ideas and coming up with ideas. And I find that I would make things that, you know, make certain meals that we really enjoy, and then I forget about them. And then I never make them again. And that's like almost like a lost meal that we could be enjoying on a regular basis, but you know, mom brain, I forgot about it. So I have literally been saving my little scrap papers that I write down meals on, meal ideas on for the week, or I have a little notebook that I've been using for a while that my kids have like all drawn in. But I've been using, or I've been saving all of those, and I sat down recently and I basically wrote down every meal that we have made through the years, that we've made on repeat, that it's something that we love and that I would happily make again. And then I basically created like a web chart or a spider chart for the different like meals, and I organized it by the protein, whether it's a certain type of meat, or I also have one for vegetarian meals as well. Now I created this for myself because I kept thinking in my mind, if I can just say, if I can look at my fridge and say, okay, I've got ground beef and I've got ground pork and I have, you know, like a whole chicken, I can just look at this quick glance. I keep it stored in my mom binder that has so much of my like go-to daily references, whether it's outlines I've made for myself or, you know, resources I've pulled and wanted to save, but I keep them in there and I can just look really quick, like, okay, I have ground beef, let me turn to my beef page, and then boom, there's all of our most favorite meals so easily laid out for me to see, and I can just quick pick one. So again, it's reducing that decision making, the time spent decision making, the energy spent decision making, and I have just found this to be extremely helpful. So down below, I'm going to link to you guys, for you guys. I made them on Canva. They're very archaic. They are no frills. There's nothing pretty about them, but they're just pragmatic and what I needed. So I will link them down below if you guys want to like print them off yourself, but I'll also link to the versions that you can edit. So if you want to go in, again, they're not pretty, but they work. You can go in and you can actually like delete my meals and put in the meals that your family loves, and then you can print these off for your own reference. I'm calling this my meal master list. You guys know I love a master list for everything, and I knew that I had been needing to make one when it comes to food and meal planning, so there you have it. So once I go through my cookbooks, or I peruse my favorite blogs, or I even look back at some of our favorite meals that we like to make on repeat, I will then decide, okay, here are the meals we're going to make for the week. Depending on the week, obviously there's gonna be certain things on your calendar that might change how many meals you need to make that week. So I always glance at my calendar, figure out if there are any nights that we're not going to be here, which is not that common, but it does happen. And then from there, I decide how many meals we need. I'll figure out maybe it's 5, 6, or even 7 meals that week. I do always like to pick some I call like low-hanging fruit meals that I know are just like super quick and easy, or maybe like Matt can make them if it's just like pasta, whatever, like bolognese with jarred sauce and ground beef. Simple things like that where I know if it's a long day, like a long work day, or we just have a lot going on that day and I know I'm gonna be tired, I'll just have those kind of meals planned for the week so I can do that on that day. Once I've made all the decisions, I do like to write down our meals for the week on the little chalkboard in my kitchen. And I mainly do this because I want to be able to see the meals, because sometimes I might have to, feed my sourdough starter and have that ready. Or I might need to, pull out meat to defrost if I haven't already. So I like to see it every day. I don't want it tucked away in a book where I have to like go and find it and open it and find the page. Like that is just already too much effort. I want to see it out, and it doesn't have to be on, I found this chalkboard at an antique years ago and I've been using it ever since. You could literally take a Post-it and like stick it on your wall next to your kitchen sink or on your fridge where you're going to see it. It does not have to be fancy, but for me, being able to see it makes all the difference, and it kind of keeps me on track. So if there's anything I need to like prep or do ahead of time, I won't forget it. Obviously, once the meals are decided on, you need to actually make the grocery list as well. So always look and see what you already have in your fridge, in your pantry, and your freezer. So that way you're not buying double of things that you already have. Definitely guilty of doing that. But usually it always gets used, but always take a look at what you have. Now, you could also take a look at what you have first and then plan your meals from that. But I feel like I always kind of keep the same things, so I don't start that way. And on that note of keeping the same types of foods stocked, I've talked about this before. I recently did an entire video on it, which I can link for you guys, but that is stocking a healthy pantry. Basically keeping a lot of cooking essentials, basic, single foods, canned foods, oils and spices and all these items that you're going to need to cook healthy meals, keeping them always stocked so you always have them. One, this just, reduces having to like always remember to pick up certain things from the grocery store. It's just kind of automatic. But also for me, this is key to create some convenience and flexibility when it comes to cooking day in and day out. So I may have come up with a menu, so to speak, for the week, but sometimes things happen. Someone might get sick, or, we end up having to like run out late in the day to grab something, we need for my daughter's school, or, sometimes, your day just kind of gets, there's a wrench thrown in your day and it's not as predictable as you thought it was going to be. So you might need to make something different. But because A, I stick to fairly simple meals, and B, I always keep my pantry well stocked. If I have chicken in the fridge and I plan to make a certain dish, I can easily just change course and make something else, because I've got rice and I've got pasta and I've always got veggies in the fridge, and I always have spices and sauces and canned tomatoes and all these things that I can make quick and easy meals from. So having that stocked pantry, having all those basics on hand that I know I'm going to go through, stocked, and often sometimes stocked in bulk, so I know they're always there. That's what allows me to be flexible when it comes to not having, this rigid meal plan that you're tied down to. And if a meal's not going to work that day, instead of ordering takeout or like making, boxed mac and cheese for dinner, you actually can just change course and make something healthy in its place. So once I've assessed what I have and my grocery list is made and I basically know everything that I'm going to need for that week, the next thing, and really the last thing that I do, is I go out to our deep freezer, which we keep in our garage, and I pull out the meat that we need for this week. This is one of the best tips that I've picked up along the way. And it is such a game changer. If you cook with meat and you buy your meat in bulk like I do from a farmer, you're not buying it week in and week out like fresh from the grocery store, then you have to defrost that meat. And meat, depending on what it is, can take quite a bit of time to defrost. Now, ground meats are quick. You can pull it out, throw it in a bowl of cold water, and within like an hour, maybe 2 hours, it's ready to go. It's completely thawed. But if you have larger cuts of meat, like, maybe like a whole chicken or a steak or, like a pork shoulder or something like that, that's going to potentially take days to defrost. So if it's not defrosted and all of a sudden you're like, wait, I'm supposed to make that for dinner and it's still in the freezer, then that whole meal goes out the window, right? So is so helpful to just pull everything out. If you need a couple pounds of ground beef and you need a whole chicken and a pork shoulder, you pull it all out at once, you stick it in the fridge as long as you have room for it, and you know that you're set for the week as far as defrosting meat, and you're not gonna forget. So this is a process that I follow week in and week out to plan for healthy eating. I would say it takes me at most about 45 minutes to do this, and I typically do it on a Sunday afternoon or sometimes early on Monday morning, which really is a very small time investment to get all those decisions out of the way, to be able to get all the shopping done in one go. And really it saves me time, it saves me money, and again, most importantly, it saves me decision making and stress. I hope that you guys found this video helpful. I'm hoping that you're walking away maybe with a new tip or just some renewed inspiration to cook healthy meals for your family. One of the most direct, impactful ways to transform your health is through the food that you're eating. Because when you think about it, there are very few other healthy behaviors we engage in that are 3 times a day or more every single day, day in and day out. What we eat is such a massive input to our health, and when you're bringing in the good real food with wholesome ingredients without a lot of additives, you are really providing your body with a beautiful foundation for good health. And to all of my fellow parents or grandparents out there, not only are you cooking these healthy meals that are going to nourish your children, but also you have to think about them seeing you cooking and preparing and stocking up on healthy food. These are all skills that they're just gonna kind of learn from you by living with you or be interacting with you, and that is going to get passed on to the next generation. So if your children are growing up in a house that prioritizes real food, that cooks healthy meals, that sits at the table together, there are no guarantees, but you are greatly increasing the chance that your children, when they grow up, are going to go on to do the same thing with their families. And that, my friends, is how we create generational health. If you are new to my channel, I would absolutely love for you to subscribe and join my little community here on YouTube. Thank you again so much for watching this video, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Bye.